So welcome to TEDxPlattsburgh, the Salon event for this June 2022. I'm Stephane Bilodeau, and I'm with my great colleague,
Ayse Basak.
Great to be with you today. In our last few events earlier in 2022, we saw coming a year with many challenges, but we could never imagine the level of struggle and challenges that would be generated by so many things, including war. So this event is following the Countdown events we've made. Countdown is a nonprofit global initiative to champion and accelerate solutions to the climate crisis, turning ideas into action, the key word here. We were already talking about inclusive and impactful action and diversity and women leadership. It was at the center of the discussions already. Now, today, this event is a TEDx Salon event, and it's still under the TED umbrella, and we're still thinking in terms of sustainable development, but we'll be touching more on entrepreneurship, on diversity, and definitely on confident and resilient women leadership. And we'll do that with two outstanding speakers. Meral Guzel, Partnerships Manager at Women's Entrepreneurship Accelerator at the Women Entrepreneurship Accelerator at UN Women, and Roshan, Kindred, Chief Diversity Officer at PagerDuty. So welcome all. So we can essentially start with the, I dropped the sharing the screen as usual. Sorry for that. So you should now see our screen. That's the title I just mentioned. So Confident and Resilient Women Leadership. Our great speaker I just mentioned. And then Ayse, you wanted to start on your comments at the introduction. So.
Yeah, I will just, you can stop sharing the screen.
And you'll do, that's
yeah,
perfect.
I will do mine.
Let's do that.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So, do you think that we need more female leaders for a better world? So, also, do you think that low levels of self-confidence and resilience are among the major challenges on the way to female leadership? So let's very shortly look at what may brought us together here today, and I will share my screen. Okay, perhaps it was about feeling low levels of self-confidence, that you were struggling to step forward and to make your voice heard at the workplace or in your business. Perhaps it was about not being sure, not being able to figure out what you really want to achieve and how to do that. And perhaps it was about so many inner critics in the mind, like, I'm not good enough, I don't have time, I don't have strength to achieve that. And perhaps it was about being so stressed and feeling so exhausted, and at the end of the day, you had no energy, no time to spend with your family. So let's assume a time abundance of resilience and confidence are flowing to you very gently and nicely. And then you have resilient and confident enough to step forward and to make your voice heard. So you can climb up the career ladder or grow your business. And also you have self-empowering beliefs like, I'm good enough, I can do this. And you feel so energized and empowered that you have your best self to be with your family. How does that sound? Hopefully Does it sounds good? So this is where you are, I can say, and this is where you want to be. So will you agree on a strategy that will take you to that future, abundant future? And that is what we call resilient and confident female leadership. Why it is so important? Because from the latest research, we know that low self-confidence is closely related with actually high levels of stress, and both are connected with high levels of inner critics. And also from the latest research, we know that low levels of self-confidence costs £2,000 or 2,500 US dollars for each employee per year for each business. So why it is now, and Stephane will go through that, sharing some figures.
Yes, that's what I'll do in a second. Still the same struggle on sharing screen. Sorry for that. So yes, just a couple of insights that were coming from a big study done by Deloitte in the last few months. It's talking about the specifics related to the women context. So despite shifting the work arrangement we've seen, women reports a lot of burnout and stress at an alarming level. For example, as you see on the chart right now, 53% of women say their stress levels are higher than they were even just a year ago. 46% feel burned out. That's quite a huge number. 33%, 1 in 3, have taken time off due to mental health challenges. All that in the last year. And 39% feel comfortable disclosing health challenges and as the reason for their absence at work. So this is showing the importance to which it gets. On the bottom left, you see the not so good news coming as well at the same time. So women are skeptical about fairness in their career pathway, and not only they are skeptical, they have reasons to be skeptical. Only 42% of women are confident that their gender will have no bearing on their career. If we compare that to men, it's 72%. So 3 men out of 4 are confident, while less than 1 women in 2. Same kind of numbers, 43% of women versus 73% for men express the view that gender will have no future bearing on their pay and reward. So definitely it's related to the first one. So that will have an impact, direct impact on their future. And when we ask, and I say we, but it's a study by verygoodbus.com, verygoodbus.com, sorry. In the next year, if the question is, in the next year, how confident are you in your career prospects? We see that only 1 in 3, so 1/3 are really confident, even in the situation we see right now. And 47%, half of the women are somewhat confident, so not so sure essentially, and 20% are not at all. So it's speaking a lot. If we put that in perspective, essentially 1 woman out of 2 suffers from high stress and has low confidence, whether it's on the future and on so many other things. And also, and I think Ayse touched that. So also tend to have women also tend to have a strong inner critic, and it's not me saying that. I'm just reporting. I would not do that. I would not mansplain anything, but that's what is reported by women, definitely. So all this comes to what we could call a perfect storm. So it's a really difficult context, really difficult situation. But maybe we can start by talking about these stories or our storm. maybe Ayse, you want to introduce on that.
Yeah, thank you. So you may be wondering who we are and why we are telling all about this. So we would like to share our stories, and that may give a better insights. So Stephane, would you like to start with your story?
Yes, I can start with my storms. My one storm, just a short one. I don't want to use too much time here. I'm often called, and I've said that many times, an hybrid. So I'm sort of mixed of many things. I'm an engineer indeed, but I'm also working in a lot of in different public institutions, even regulators. And at the same time, I'm an entrepreneur. So thinking it's another mindset completely. I'm working in the energy sector, but I'm also really a fierce advocate for sustainable development. So all that stretch between different worlds put me in so many struggles. And I know women are often stretched between different worlds, and that's I know for the small part I've faced essentially, and this caused not only trouble but also stress and also in fact some situation. And I just want to highlight one of these situations. So as an entrepreneur a few years ago, more years than that essentially, but many years ago I should say, in a business project, I did choose the wrong partners. So business partners I'm talking about here. I'll not go much on the how and why it became really tough, but it quickly went crazy. Okay. But that part is not that important. That's not the one I want to talk. So that was a struggle like many people are facing. What I want to highlight is what I learned from this storm I faced. It allowed me to not only learn what's happening in the world around, but also on myself. I realized that I had the capacity and the enthusiasm and perseverance of what's required in entrepreneurship, even when it gets tough. So it's easy to be perseverant and enthusiastic when it's going well, but when it's going really bad, that's another story. So I learned it was not kind of built in. It needed to be built because I'm the engineer type. So down to earth, risk management mindset, lack of confidence. That's also typical of engineer. I'm just telling. But unlike many professionals, which are typically working in silos with like-minded people, I thrive, and that's one thing I learned, working and exchanging with people of diverse mindset, various experience, different experience, and backgrounds as well. And certainly, I learned from the failures. And not only that, I learned from the failures, but my failures essentially in that case, but also that failures plus perseverance are a great way to learn. So a failure, if it's the end, it's difficult to learn. But when you add perseverance and you fight to change that, you're able to learn. And I learned about that. So even tough time, even difficult context may be converted in positive things. So that's one thing I've learned. The other thing I've learned a lot as well is working with diversity, being open-minded definitely helps to build a better world, but also a better self. It opens new perspective. And for that reason, I'm working to make sure that women get their fair space, their fair share of the public space, but also in different settings, especially in engineering, my profession, but also as entrepreneurs. And we'll talk about that. We have a great speaker talking about this in the coming minutes. So it's important, not only because it's fair, but also because it will help to build, as I just said, a better world. So that's the thing I've learned through the struggles. That's it. I said it would be short. It is. So I'll let you go ahead with your stories, Ayse,
Okay.
and then we'll go to our speaker.
Yeah. Thank you. And I think I'm on the others. I'm coming from the other spectrum. So it was in 2018, and that was my first day after arrival to the Scotland and Dundee from Copenhagen, because I was offered a position at the university to train prisoners male prisoners as coaches. And that was my first day, and it was a shiny day, and I was so excited. And then I was just at the department, and I learned that my line manager was away for 6 months. And I was shocked because I didn't know, and I was new to Dundee, and I contacted with her. And then she said that you have a choice. Either you can move to another project, we have other projects, you can work with there, or you can continue to work on this project, training prisoners as coaches, but you need to take the majority of the responsibility for whole project management, lifestyle of project management. And I guess you can imagine the thunderstorm inside me, because I did nobody. I didn't know any system in the UK, in Scotland, and it was really a big challenge. And so many thoughts like, am I good enough? Can I do that? No, I'm not good enough. I can't do that. There is no way. But, you know, maybe you felt also like that. Some intuition, very slight voice says that those people in this situation, prisoners, need you because they deserve a second chance, and then you can help them to grow. So I took the challenging part, and that was first day in the prison, and then I just arrived at prison. The training was in the prison, and then prisoners arrived and they were looking downwards, and I can see all the misery and low levels of self-confidence on their faces. And I spent almost 1 day to build trust and rapport, to understand their challenges. How can we have a roadmap to growth? And after 2 months of training, I will call resilience and growth journey, these prisoners, male prisoners, became confident and resilient coaches at the end of our learning, acting, growing together journey. And all they wanted was to support other prisoners to so that they could grow. But I also improved my confidence, because I had the courage and confidence, for example, that's just one example, to set up a meeting with the head of Scottish Prison Association to have the second cohort funding. And finally, we got it. That was a success story. And maybe there is sometimes you feel that, oh, everything will be good, nice, soft. This challenge is over. Unfortunately, no. In 2020, I found myself, I had to start up my own business. And just 2 months before COVID-19, perfect storm. And then during COVID-19, I observed that so many women were juggling between home tasks, childcare, and also work responsibilities, and many other issues. And they felt so stressed and their confidence were declining. And I said that I was there. I knew how to be like in prison. I'm familiar with these feelings, so I can help through my experience and also my success proven strategy. So I started working on resilient and confident female leadership. And on the way, because I was also working with sustainability development goals, on the way at the UN Leaders Summit, I met with Stephane online. By the way, we haven't met in person over the 2 years, just everything is online, our communication. So we met online, and then that is how this inclusive, resilient, and confident leadership concept was born. And we started to work and became advocates of leadership, actually confident and resilient female leadership for sustainability, referring to synergistic interaction between SDG 3, 5, 8, 13, and 17. In other terms, well-being, gender equity, workplace structures and economy and climate change are synergistically interacting with each other, supported by collaborative actions, and we are started delivering workshops around and strategy development around that. And on the way, also, I became a Women Enterprise Scotland Enterprise ambassador to encourage and support women entrepreneurs on their journey. I'm also working with Women Business Station, with women from ethnic minorities to support their journey. As a short, finally, I can say that with Stephane, we are on a journey, and last year, we set up 3 TEDx talks and TEDx countdown, and we say that can we try to have a license for TEDx? And it was a challenging but very collaborative journey with TEDx. And then Stephane took the hardcore there. And we are now granted for TEDx license. And now we are also nominee for UN Impact Awards. We don't know the results, but at least we are trying. But I think according to us, if I can say on behalf of us, we are so proud or feel privileged to meet with lovely people, amazing people on this journey, like Divya Singhal, Roshan, Kindred, Meral, Guzel, and many other, Renahan, Jill, and many others. So I think all I can say that in terms of Stephane and me, whatever we do, there is nothing special for us, but there is very something special about what we do. And actually, that is, I will call GPS of resilient and confident female leadership. G refers to growth mindset. P refers to purposeful actions, and S refers to strategic collaboration and communications. And today you will hear more about why this resilient and confident leadership, especially GPS of this resilient and confident leadership, is important from our distinguished speakers. And being said so, I'm giving the floor to Stephane.
Yes, and I was absolutely in agreement with you. We're during this endeavor of the TEDx, we've met so many great people, and today we're lucky to have 2 of these outstanding person that will speak. And I just briefly show the slide earlier. I will just re-show it to make it more clearer. So we'll have definitely Meral, Guzel, and Roshan, Kindred. Just before I'm switching to their speak, I would just want to say that for the participant, if you have any question, just put them in the chat, whether it's on the Zoom meeting right now or directly on the YouTube channel page. Some of the questions we'll be able to answer during this presentation or just after. Others might be responded to afterwards. So let's start with you, Meral. So Meral Guzel, as I've mentioned earlier, is the partnerships manager at the Women Accelerator, the Women Entrepreneurship Accelerator at UN Women. So definitely entrepreneurship is of great interest for me, but for many persons, I'm absolutely sure. And helping women that choose this pathway is important. And we would greatly like to have you and hear you speaking about this. So go ahead, Meral.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephane and Ayse, and as the organizer of this TEDx chapter, and congratulations. And Roshan, I'm happy to share this virtual stage with you. And good morning and good afternoon to all participants for being here today and to listen to us, and those who will listen to us also on YouTube later. This is Meral, as Stephane and Ayse also introduced, and I'm managing this initiative established by 6 UN agencies, as you can see behind me, the logos, and funded by Medicaid. So it's a pleasure to address you today on resilience and confident women leadership. And I will be focusing on women entrepreneurs, and who are, I think you would all agree, by definition and in practice, super resilient and super confident. So women entrepreneurs, they are innovators in the markets and leaders in their communities. Entrepreneurship helps also break the gender biases in the communities and allow women to have a public voice. We also see entrepreneurship maybe the only way for women left behind in conflict and or disaster areas. You can call it a war, you can call it an environmental disaster, a natural disaster, to gain economic power. Same for displaced women like refugees. So let me talk first about why UN Women focuses on women entrepreneurship and its effect for development. So women-owned businesses, they have a crucial role in economic development in all the countries. Actually, entrepreneurship has a crucial role in economic development, but women entrepreneurship even further. They create income for their families, and with the income comes better education for the children, better health and housing conditions. They create employment for their communities, and please keep in mind that women businesses tend to employ women employees and workers for them. And they also bring new values to products and services because they think differently. And also, women have been a fast-growing segment of small business owners for many decades in quite all the countries. In developing countries today, there are more than 10 million small and medium enterprises owned at least one woman owner. And for example, in the United States, women-owned businesses are growing more than double the rate of all other firms. And today, creating directly 23 million jobs. And happy to say, minority and women-owned businesses are particularly big job creators and stabilizers for the economy. And many women-owned businesses focus on sectors considered as social businesses, and meaning that they are designed for both profit and positive social and environmental impact. But because of COVID, as you know, the last years, all businesses, including women-owned businesses around the world, have been suffering due to pandemic. And because we all know the reason, and Ayse also touched upon this a little bit, even Stephane, women entrepreneurs are more likely to take on the childcare, homeschooling, domestic responsibilities than the male entrepreneurs. And this is having a significant impact on their productivity, on their stress level and health. So there's an interesting data of global state of small business in US. Women business owners who are married with young children report that their #1 priority is support for taking care of household members. And the same question asked to male entrepreneurs owners, married and with young children, this ranks 6th in their list of policy needs at this time. So let's talk about resilience, right, in this case. But globally, related to pandemic also, women-owned businesses are about 6% more likely to close than their businesses than male businesses. And today, women account close to 40% of global employment, but they experience more than 0.5% of all job losses. And more than 80% of women-led companies are affected negatively, and more than 80%, I'm not giving the exact percentages, but if interested, I'm happy to give you the full studies on that. And more than 80%, they have been significant decrease in sales and revenues. So here's another, for me, another interesting data. Very interestingly, the largest gender gap was reported in North America and Europe, where women were 50% more likely than men to report closing a business due to pandemic. But paradoxically, the trend was reversed in Central and East Asia, where men were slightly more likely to report business closure due to pandemic than women. Slightly, it's really 37 to 34%, but it is still likely. So despite these facts that I'm stating here, when we talk about resilience, women entrepreneurs have shown really remarkable resilience in retaining their businesses and also adapting to new market realities. Even us, we are not, I'm not entrepreneur. I can call myself an intrapreneur in what I'm doing in job. We had to adapt to the new reality, right? We had to learn the Zoom calls, how to set this up, and technology and everything. So public policies in many countries during this pandemic were not enough. They were not sufficient at all in providing support to women in generally, but women entrepreneurs for family care, schooling, small business relief, financing opportunities. So the system continuously undermines the potential of starting and growing of high potential ventures of women entrepreneurs. So Women Entrepreneurship Accelerator, what we do support the women entrepreneurship agendas of the countries to create enabling ecosystems for women entrepreneurs. So our work is based on first analyzing and understanding the specific barriers that women face, so both open and grow their businesses, because it doesn't mean that they were open that they will be successful in growing the business. And secondly, conveying all stakeholders, all the actors, to provide innovative solutions to those challenges. So now the question we can all ask, and I would like us to ask this question to us, how we can support women entrepreneurs, because they have, all entrepreneurship is difficult, it's not easy, but women face very specific challenges in establishing and growing their businesses. I mean, access to finance and access to capital being the most cited challenge. Then challenges in access to information, the capacity building, forever. But I will focus today on a solution to the challenges in accessing domestic and international market. So buying from women-owned businesses, which we can all do personally, but we want to go beyond that to talk about the ecosystem. So for many decades, and I have been doing entrepreneurship since 2006, I can say, beginning from micro-entrepreneur, then woman entrepreneur, then access to finance, then gender finance, and woman banking, touching supply and demand side in both sides of the entrepreneurship. But for many decades, the programs and initiatives targeted in building the capacity of women, like empowering women, which I don't like using this wording anymore, because the question here, do women need to be empowered? This is really the problem here. And so we propose to shift the paradigm. So instead of focusing to women, let's focus on enabling ecosystem. So instead of giving the responsibility on the shoulders of women by giving them special training, special capacity building, special loans, special products, etc., let's just ask public and private companies to buy more from women-owned and women-led businesses, because if we buy more, they will produce more, etc. The market will rearrange itself. So I would like to talk specifically, obviously there are many solutions, but I would like to talk very specifically about the program that we are developing on, gender responsive procurement, that will help women to access markets, and through which we want to be sure that public and private sector sourcing policies and practices are gender responsive. So gender responsive procurement, and I will call it just GRP for practicity, is about establishing or strengthening policies and practices to buy more from women. And we have a very strategic and dramatic data on this. Only 1% of all public and private companies are buying from women, only 1%. So let's talk about the business case. Why a company, either public or private, would buy or should buy from women? Because working with women-led and women-owned companies is not only the right thing to do. Obviously, for human rights issue, it's the right thing to do, but it's beyond that. It drives corporate growth, innovation, and sustainability. So from company perspective, implementing GRP has many benefits, but I will only mention 3, so we can keep these 3 in our minds. So implementing or promoting gender equality and women's empowerment is not only about women on board, the percentage of women on board, or one activity or one policy or one campaign. This is about being a company with value-based culture. So implementing and buying from women entrepreneurs is the one way, one of the many ways for companies to embed their values or across the organizations and in all their operations. And if it is a multinational company, even better, globally. So second, improving supplier diversity, which is the very hot topic today, right? The supplier crisis, and inclusion promotes innovation. And this will be reflected to new products, to new services, to new solutions. And this will create new market opportunities in the very near future and access to new markets. So just let's not forget that supplier diversity may become a source of companies' competitive advantage. And it is actually a company's competitive advantage. And finally, companies with diverse and inclusive supply chain policies and practices boost their brand image and reputation. I put my attention to buy, and many women, they are doing that. We are very good buyers when we choose the products, right? And for home, for anything, if this on the brand image and reputation of the company, if this company respectful to the environment, if this company is not harmful, they respect the labor policies, etc. So fostering gender equality in the supply chain also improve their community relations in the communities where they work, and they maximize the potential benefit of community engagement programs, which is generally mostly the first activity the companies are doing if they have to work with women. So I'm just glad to let you know that UN Women has a wholesome approach to gender responsive procurement, and we try to fill the gaps in the ecosystem, and where we identified the needs of both women entrepreneurs and companies. And so we are approaching to the topic from both supply and demand sides. First, we just developed, it will be launched soon, an innovative pilot program, and where we targeted private sector companies in this case, in all economic sectors, to establish and strengthen their GRP policies and investment policies. So we propose the companies to buy more from women, but the novelty here, we also ask them to invest in the business of the companies they are buying from. So far we engaged with the 73 procurement officers, which are now improving their procedures to buy more from women. And through this program, we are tackling two most cited barriers for women entrepreneurs. So one is access to market, so because companies are buying from women, and the other one is access to capital, and because companies are investing them also as well. So happy to add that we are also working with investors, which is a new line of work for us, and to increase their gender awareness and to increase their motivation to invest in women-owned businesses. And to complement this, we will also soon launch a specialized training program that builds the capacities of women entrepreneurs on the other side to compete for bidding opportunities with the public and private sector. And those are for women SMEs, for small, medium enterprises. So overall, I believe our work adds value to women's participation in supply chains, and hopefully they will have better access to finance, both finance and markets. And I also take this opportunity to invite you all to 2022 Women's Entrepreneurship Expo of Europe and Central Asia region, and it will be launched in July, beginning July, and expand until November 2022. So it lays on many months, and it will bring together women entrepreneurs from across the region, and together with private sector companies and business leaders, investors, and experts. And that will be all my intervention for so far, to give a little bit of space to Roshan as well. We don't have much time. I'm happy to answer your questions. And thank you, Stephane and Ayse.
Thanks very much, Meral. Maybe I will have a question. And by the way, you can put the link for the expo in the chat. We'll be pleased to share it. That's great and awesome suggestion you made. Just coming back to one thing, so being an entrepreneur myself, so I really like the way you approach the thing, talking about how you would like to promote diverse and inclusive way to buy things and suppliers diversity, as well as the gender equality, which is in fact linked to the value-based culture. So that's, I feel it really concrete. But you came with one point, and I would like you to just emphasize a bit more on that. So you were talking about empowering women, and you felt that it's not maybe the thing that it should be presented in a different way. So if you don't mind, I would be pleased if you can just go a bit further into that. It's an interesting point, and I think you were coming with concrete things. So maybe we go beyond this empowering women approach. It's more like making them able to start and build their business, because they will be buyers. They will be, anyway. I want to let you talk about this. I am
and this is actually, it also touch upon to our mission also. When the programs, initiatives, everything focus on, I mean, we all focus on women differently, but they give the weight on the shoulders of women. Let's say I have personal experience. I have done many programs with women. Let's say Access to Finance program for women entrepreneurs in Africa program. I managed this program for many years. I have been in many African countries, etc. Spending a lot of funds to train 30 women in each country. This is beautiful. It's a lot of funds though. You need, my costs, training costs, and we have to go their organization and everything. But when after 2 years you go back and for an impact study, and you look at what happened to all those women that you taught them how to access to finance, you taught them how to put their business plan, do you think that you would have seen a large impact? No, we haven't, because the ecosystem is the same, right? Because nothing changed on the environment of women. It's not by going there, giving 4-hour classes, 2 days classes. Obviously, we tell about the realities. We talk about very good facts that you have to build your business plan. You have to do this. So coming to the same thing, I think women are empowered. I do not think anything is missing when we provide them the opportunities. So now, and it is also our mission, the mission of the WEA program is to create or strengthen enabling ecosystem for women entrepreneurs. So of course we have to continue the education. We have to continue the information. Like, for example, I see a lot of, we have to teach, for example, fintech. Now, we 10 years, 15 years ago, access to finance courses consisted of how to open a loan, what is a loan, what is a credit card, different types of cards, etc. But today we talk about crowdsourcing, we talk about cryptocurrency, we talk about, women, they don't even need to go to the financial building, of the banks or institutions to open an account or access to finance. So we have to provide this capacity building to them. So this is all well, very well. But the shifting it, if the investors, they do not change, if we cannot inform them sufficiently so that they see the benefit of investing in women businesses, what's the purpose for women to make all this transaction or to get this education? I don't know if it makes sense what I'm saying, or I could explain to you.
Absolutely making sense, and I like the idea that it's one thing to train, and it's important, but then it's important as well that it materialize in something. You were referring to a statistics earlier, which was incredible. Just 1% of companies are buying from women-owned. That's the first thing. So if it's good to train women to be entrepreneur, but if their products or services are not bought, it's, even with the best plan, it's difficult to achieve something. So yes, no, your point is absolutely, and I think we all need to switch to this new mindset. We need to make it possible. Women are able to self-empower themselves, but if the context is not allowing that to thrive, anyway, that's just my
if I can make a point.
Yes,
so
go ahead, Ayse.
I think that may be some kind of approach, maybe rather than these fragmented approaches for I know you don't, I got the whole point, empowering, but maybe rather than this mindset or growth mindset or empowering program for women's all inclusive programs for growth mindset or empowering, you call, where women and men can come together and they can learn from each other and build each other. So help each other, support each other to have businesses or to work together, maybe we need to move these fragmented interventions, approaches.
Definitely, we need to train men to buy things from women owned enterprise. Anyway, that's a great point, and the programs you define are really that's really interesting. Really pleased to hear that today. We'll go to our second, and maybe we'll have other questions later on, but we'll go with Roshan Kindred. Thanks, Meral, for what you were sharing. Roshan, you're Chief Diversity Officer at PagerDuty, and you would like to talk about what you call the elevated leadership, stepping forward in confidence. It's directly in line with the topic today. So I invite you just to start and give us your insights, and we might also have questions after that. So go ahead, Roshan.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Well, Meral, thank you for that informative and powerful discussion on entrepreneurship, specifically the need to change the ecosystem, because the program mentorship of women can't succeed without the sponsorship of a new mindset. It just cannot happen. So Stephane, Ayse, I want to thank you both for this virtual opportunity to share the stage with you. And I really wanted to dig into elevated leadership, stepping forward in confidence. And so this topic is near and dear to my heart, just because I was a small woman-owned business owner of a marketing and entertainment firm before I came to PagerDuty. And I found it difficult to gain access to capital, to gain access to capacity building. And I thought, okay, there's something else here. And I really felt as though I didn't have the confidence to take that step to say, I know what it is. But when I gained my voice and I really leaned into my passion, I understood exactly what I was purposed to do. And while I'm passionate about entrepreneurship and I applaud women entrepreneurship, I also realized that my passion and my advocacy for human potential really did rest in the corporate America and within the corporate world. And so I chose to make the conscious decision to not only go back to corporate America, but to go back to corporate America to advocate, and to advocate for empathetic leaders, to advocate for strategic women leaders, but also just to give everyone a sense of newfound confidence. We are in a totally different environment, and this environment really does focus on human intelligence and empathy. And those are terms that we're just not accustomed to hearing in the corporate sector. And so my role is to really come in and to establish a lens of equity, a lens of belonging, a lens of purpose into our business imperative. And so today I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about what does it mean to be a strategic, confident female leader? So when we think about leadership, we hear words like resilient, confident, goals, key objectives, outcomes, and big rocks, and P&L, but those don't really tell the story of who we are, right? When I think about who we are human beings. And from that, there's an emotional sense of understanding and being that we have to tap into. And so when you think about who you stand yourself up to be, you have to first understand and know who you are. And so today we're going to talk about mindset. We're going to talk a little bit about action and collaboration. And so I want to specifically look and speak to first all leaders. So I often think about when we get on an airplane, the first thing that is told, if in the case of an emergency, is to put your mask on first. So the first thing you have to do as a leader is first get yourself in order. First, get your own sense of understanding and have your own sense of mindset established, because you will not be an effective leader if you can't first lead yourself. And so I recommend all leaders to get in tune with who they are and the persona they want to represent. Are you an empathetic leader? Are you a strategic leader? Are you a strategic empathetic leader? You have to know the you that you are presenting to the world. And that comes with establishing your own sense of confidence. So how do we do that? We think about our mindset. Now that's great if you are a man, because historically, you've reigned in corporate America across the world. You've reigned in the political sector, you've reigned in the nonprofit sector. But if you are a woman, you are in the new age of coming into finding your voice, coming into knowing who you are. And while you may have known that in the personal space, we haven't always elevated that into the workspace. And so we're in this new era of discovering and being and owning and stepping into our greatness. And so when we think about all of that, it can be stressful. And so you have to develop a mindset. We heard earlier that 1 out of 2 women suffer from high stress and low confidence. And I think part of that is owning and knowing who you are and your mindset for what you want to bring into the workspace. And so part of that is establishing a parameter and a standard. So when I think about as a woman leader, I show up as a certain way. I have a persona as to who I present myself to be. But that starts with my mindset. And so what do we do to cultivate mindset? Well, that's a good question. I'm going to answer it for you. So there are 3 key learnings that you can do to first establish a strong mindset that will support your confidence. And I want to add something here. Someone once said that fear puts dreams to sleep. And I said, no, fear may put dreams to sleep, but resilience awakens them and enables you to believe that all things are possible. That's mindset. You've got to make sure that you understand and establish, number 1, your standard. What is your habit for establishing your mindset? Do you start with gratitude and giving, or do you start with negativity and optimism? Every morning, I start my morning giving thanks. Every morning. It sets the tone for my day. It enables me to see the opportunities. It enables me to understand where the possibilities are. And it also enables me to see where the gaps are in my mindset. And then I think about giving. What am I giving to the world? I've been given another day, a new opportunity. I have this opportunity to speak with you all. What does today represent? It represents an opportunity to elevate a female voice. It represents an opportunity to elevate a leadership voice, but it also represents an opportunity to create and make change. So every day you have to start your mindset with a sense of what is your standard? What is your purpose? And then number 2 in your standard, are you authentic? Are you authentically coming to the table with your mindset? Or are you establishing your mindset based off of someone else? Now, granted, we all need resources. We all need tools. We all get inspired by one another. But you have to take those learnings in and establish who you are going to be. That becomes your standard. The authenticity of what your voice represents is how you then represent into society. For me, as a Black female, I represent not only the Black community, I not only represent the female community, but I represent all communities, if not ones that I resonate with, ones that I ally with. So I am an advocate. I am a human enthusiast. So I approach my day with enthusiasm, with advocacy and efficacy, and that is a part of my standard. The second thing, staying out of my comfort zone, but away from the edge. As you are establishing your standard, you've got to know what are your parameters. What are you willing to break the glass ceiling with, but not break you? We are all built differently, and our mindset controls how we view the world and how we view the accomplishments that we're going to create in the world. For me, I thrive on a challenge. I love to be pushed to the limits, but everyone has a limit. And so you've got to make sure that you don't operate completely out of your limit as you're trying to establish your mindset. Creating some sense of control does provide you with a sense of curious wonder, but safety and security. So for me, that means staying out of my comfort zone, but away from the edge. And then the fourth one in your establishing standard is self-care. This is the one pillar that I don't think many of us think about in the onus of a mindset. We tend to think about self-care of things that we can do on the outward, to our bodies, to get a facial, get a massage, go for a walk. But when I think about mindset, those are things that, how am I going to shift my train of thought? How am I going to motivate myself into excellence? How am I going to train my mind to not think about the obstacles, but to focus on the solutions and to listen before I create the solutions? Because sometimes we don't listen enough. And so making sure that your standard is comprised of gratitude and giving, authenticity, for me, staying out of my comfort zone and away from the edge, and self-care. Now, all of these are wrapped into one pillar of how you have your mindset. But what do you do to support your mindset? For me, that comes with the form of exercise, nutrition, and love. Those are the three things that I use to support my mindset. And why? Because if I'm going to be an innovative leader, I've got to be healthy. I have to have good nutrition. And for me, love fuels my energy. Whether it is between my family and friends, whether it's my pet, whether it's a stranger on the street, to show empathetic love. That is what drives me as a leader. So when I think about mindset, if I have those things in place, I'm more equipped to step into the workplace with what? Confidence. That's what your mindset enables you to do. It enables you to go into unfamiliar territories to accomplish things that you've yet to actually do, with a sense of, I may not know, but I do have the ability to accomplish. And why is this important? Well, as a female leader, most often you're going into environments where you may be the only one, where your voice may not be the voice that is always being heard, where you may not have all of the ideas, but everyone's going to look at the idea that you present forward. And so as a leader, I tell my female counterparts, I get it from my colleagues, that own your mindset, own who you are. That will fuel your actions. If you plan to be the most strategic leader that is going to drive innovation or drive inclusive innovation, you've got to know that you have the ability to do just that. You've got to know that it is okay that you don't know everything. You have to align yourself with those individuals who do know what you don't know. And that can be difficult as a female leader, because to come into an environment and say you don't know makes you feel vulnerable. And what does that do to our mindset when we feel vulnerable? We retreat. We scale back. We play small. But as women, we bring a powerful, innovative voice into the corporate atmosphere. Whether it's corporate or nonprofit, we create diversity. And we all know that there's a huge business imperative to what diversity brings. We know that 63% of organizations now hiring employees, those employees are looking for diverse environments. They're looking for inclusive cultures. And why do you think that is so? Because people want to bring their authentic self to work. People want to bring their authentic self into community. People want to bring their authentic self and their authentic innovation into this economy. And it's important because we are in a world that is ever changing. When we think about the impact on the world with the global pandemic, I can tell you from a firsthand account, I cannot believe how the world's mindset has shifted. And the mindset hasn't always been on the positive end. And so we've got to make sure that as we are offering up our best self, that best self is a healthy self. And that healthy self is built on a healthy mindset. You can do all things when your mind is right. You will struggle when your mind is not right. And so a healthy mindset really does provide innovation. Now, why is this important? And why is this important to female leaders? Well, when I think about some of the research that's out there, and I'm looking specifically at living costs and how the costs across the globe are spiraling. Food prices are over 12% in the past year. We don't have equal access to healthcare, and it's gotten as bad as not being able to get access to baby formula. We've got to be innovative with our thought process. And that means we have the ability to show up and to bring our authentic innovation into this space. And so we've got to be able to have that mindset that enables us to know that the ideas that we are harboring, the widgets that are just in the brink of being launched into a full-fledged product, we hold the key. And if we can't be resilient and face the mindset and face the obstacles, then we will hold on to the solutions that the world actually needs. And so I implore all women to first, and men, but really for a female mindset, to control and to activate and elevate what your thought process is, to give yourself some goals and then give yourself stretch goals, to find yourself in the unknown and then ask yourself, how do I show up? How do I make a difference? How do I leave an impact? How do I extend the brand of either myself or this organization for the overall greater good of society? That is what we bring to the workplace. That is what we bring to the economy. And that is what we bring to the world. And so I'm just excited to really dig into the mindset and empower people with the tools, the resources, but most of all, with the motivation to know that you can do it, that we are more powerful than we think, that we have the ability to do the unknown, and all we are looking for is equal access and the opportunity to create greatness. And with that, I will pause for any questions.
Great and motivational, inspiring point. I have just a quick question, and you opened shortly on it, but I would like to know what was inspiring you finally, not only to advocate for proper or healthy mindset, even in diversity, inclusiveness, and so many important things here, but what made you, what triggered that you cultivate your own mindset to be able to do that afterwards? What was the starting point or something that was inspiring you essentially to go forward?
Thank you for that question, because when I think about it, it really did spawn from someone telling me that I couldn't, that as a Black woman, I was not going to be successful in a predominantly white male organization. And so when someone tells me that I can't, I tell you that I can. And I thought about who I am and the resilience that I display. But then I looked to my right at my direct reports, and they didn't have that same resilience. And whether that be from culture, whether that be from mindset, it was something that was lacking. And so when I thought about, how do I really, it's okay if we just get ourselves right? But how do we make an impact on the world? And that's where that giving comes from. And I felt as though I was being kind of drawn back into corporate America to really make an impact and to empower women and people with the ability to really stand up who they are and to show the ROI in coming into inclusive spaces and creating innovation. And so that's kind of where it came from.
Great. So the point was just to, since it needs to be, that kind of experience need to be spread. It's coming from you had the guts to do it. It was certainly not easy, as you said, in a male, maybe white bearded environment. So I definitely get that. We might have other questions, but we have a question for you, Meral, maybe that that is from Dr. Truss. So she's wondering how we equate women's only programs in a society where we try to be inclusive and equal. And is it appropriate to equal that? So
can you please tell me again?
I will repeat. So she's wondering how we equate women's only program, equate maybe just comparing, in a society where we try to be inclusive and equal. So if it's a women's only program versus equality.
So that means that by focusing on women only programs will not be equitative. That's what the question is.
I think it's what she's meaning. So how do we probably justify that? That's important. But what would be the key items to support it? That's the point.
I think we would all agree the inequality is on all areas, right? from the very beginning.
Absolutely.
Don't, we shouldn't think like the West, or I mean, let's think globally. Let's think developing countries. Let's think globally. The inequality begins before the birth, even in some cases. So when the policies are there, great. Like for example, in UK, in France, in Nordic European countries, companies should report on their gender pay gap. Then when there is a policy there already established, it is great because the companies must do that. So this should be public. But in other countries, let's say US, where there is no obligation on gender pay gap, or there is no obligation on giving the parental leave. So here, what we do here, we cannot not to do anything, right? We cannot just wait that one day the policy, the regulations will come, and it will come one day, hopefully, but we cannot wait for this. So this is where we need those programs and projects and initiatives from international organizations, from companies, from NGOs, right? And I think this is absolutely the right thing to do. And because I work a lot with the private sector, and but I can talk a lot, my experience, we do applaud those companies where they are setting out those initiatives, even though it is not required by law. I think I believe they are much more courageous and willing, and it's a great thing for gender equality and women's empowerment, doing so without any obligation. It's only because, I don't know if the question and my answer the questions, because I didn't completely understood the question. But if this is the need, where the needs come from. When there is an inequality, the policies are needed. If the policies are there, then yes, we have to move on. If quotas, so let's say it should be quotas. If projects. I think Roshan wants to jump in as well.
Yeah, I was like all over this. So Meral, that actually, that actually is a good statement. And I will say this to the equity lens. So when you think about equal access, if we're starting and everyone is at a center block, but we are 2 steps behind, then the highlight or the showcase of women-owned or women-led programs really does create the equity. Without it, we're at a disadvantage. And so a lot of the programs in various organizations and countries highlighting women and women entrepreneurship are really focusing on creating that equity. It is not creating a highlight to further advance women. It really is to advance them to get to that equitable level. And so once you have that, everyone playing at that same equitable field, then you can start talking about equity, but you will not have equity until you have inclusivity on an equal basis. And that comes from elevating the unheard and the unseen voices that are in the economy or in the business.
Yes, definitely. It needs to be corrected. It's a situation which is not in a good side right now. If I may, giving maybe a wrong example, but an example. We're talking about the climate emergency. It's important to make things. For 100 years, the fossil fuel industry was supported, funded, financed by government for 100 years. Now some are saying it's unfair to support clean technologies, but they were there is a climate gender equity urgency. That's the same thing. For hundreds of years, it's not the fossil fuel, but the men-owned enterprise and banks and were supported. Okay, really. Now it's time to correct the situation. We might wait for decades and centuries for it to correct by itself, but I think it needs to be done in a faster way, like for the climate emergency. This is another emergency, and there need to be changes. And programs like the one you shared, by the way, Meral, are examples of that. Okay, that was my 2 cents on this question, which I thought was an important question, because I'm sure in the field, many others are asking the same kind of questions, important too. Okay, maybe Ayse, you have another point, or you have questions that you wanted to go through before, or you want to step to the next item? What do you want to do right at the moment?
Maybe we can ask if there is any final questions from our audience. They can type in the chat box. And then,
Yes, definitely. There can still time for other questions.
okay. Or if there is any final message that Roshan or Meral would like to share, final messages before I move on.
I think for me, it is just so critical that the work that Meral is doing is supported with a proper mindset. And that mindset is really disabling those systemic ignorances of practices or laws, and really coming to a new understanding of what it means to support women-owned businesses, what it means to support equity, and what it means to be inclusive. And if we don't, then things like the climate change will really be taking it a unhealthy turn towards positivity. We need action now. So we've got to stand up programs like this that are going to elevate and innovate and level the playing field so that we really can have innovation. If not, we are going to be stuck behind, not as a country, but as a human race. And because we consume so much of this earth, we have to have the innovation in order to sustain it. And so it is important that we really don't focus on who's getting elevated, but why they're getting elevated. What is the impact of that elevation? And what are the outcomes that are going to come from it, and how they're going to impact all people for the good. And so I'm just excited, and I thank her for her work. I thank you both for this opportunity, and I look forward to the change coming forth.
Thank you, Roshan, for your kind words. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Meral, you want to add a final word, or before we switch to Ayse's point?
Sure. Maybe I can make a. Thank you again for Roshan.
It can be a comment.
I think everything and everybody and every institution is needed because those are really baby steps. And related to this, maybe I can make a call. Like a call to all individuals, also institutions and men, and to stand by gender equality and women's empowerment in every stage. So it is not one action, one policy, one activity that will make changes. But when we can all join the fight, and it is a fight, there the impact will be much more stronger. And you talk about inequalities on the climate change and etc. But the inequalities become more obvious, or sometimes become only obvious in case of disaster, sicknesses, pandemic. And this is where we see, wow, the inequality becomes so obvious to us. And this is the climate change as well. So it's just a call to everybody, and to men to stand up for women, but women to stand up for women. Maybe we have all NGOs to help us to come together and to work together to challenge the policies, and companies establish gender responsive policies and practices, and etc. That will be my last words.
Maybe not. We have two other questions. One is for Roshan and one is for you, Meral. It starts off, in fact, we asked for questions, so maybe we can take a minute or so. The first one is for you, Roshan. It's from Carla, and it's she's talking about, she's just referring to what you said. So I love the idea of creating your own persona. So to show up like that, can I ask, so that's the question, a couple of tips on how to start with this, so creating your own persona. So can you give her some hint or tips?
Absolutely. So one of the things that I usually start with, and I got it from a great coach, is a persona based on your environment that is authentically who you are. So as a chief diversity officer, I have a persona for when I'm at work. It's not that it's not authentic, but it is my work persona, which is very different than my home persona. But the two are married together through my authenticity. So when I say persona and I'm looking at work, who are you showing up at work as? How are people perceiving you? And then how do you achieve the persona that you want? So for me, it is always being empathetic. It is always being led with heartfelt strategic decisions that are data-driven in that order. And why? Because what I deal with is human capital, human mindset, and human hearts.
Mhm.
So I want to make sure that my persona resonates that before the business imperative. Because if I can't get to their heart, I won't change their behavior. And if their behavior doesn't change, it's not going to impact the company. And so I would look at who you want to show up as, whatever that environment is, and then build your own brand of authenticity. For me, again, just because I work in diversity and inclusion, it encompasses all people, all races, all perspectives. And so I use the word human with intention, because from the last time I've checked, we aren't disputing that we're humans. So you're safe with the word human, but really I say that with intent because I want to be inclusive. And so again, that's part of that persona, your authenticity of who you want to show up as. And then as a Black woman, female leader, I also want to make sure I use empathy, because I'm trying to stand down stereotypes. And I know that I have a very strong personality and I'm very boisterous when I get passionate about something. And so I want to make sure that while people may hear the velocity of my voice, the tone or the pitch, they also embrace the human experience and the fact that I actually care about their well-being. So again, I think those are two great tips to start with, and then you can go from there.
Absolutely. Great.
May I
Go
ask
ahead,
at
Ayse.
this point related to that, Roshan? Roshan, can we say that you mentioned great point, work persona and home persona. So can we say that work persona and home persona are, you mentioned, but I'm just trying to make it more clear. So can we say that work persona and home persona are actually connected through your higher purpose?
Yes, and that is actually a great point, because here's the deal. If there's not a woven road of inclusivity between those two personas, one of them is going to become antiquated and or fake. And so what you want to make sure that you do is that the persona is just a variation of who you are. It doesn't change who you are. So when I am at home and I hear someone make a ignorant or non-inclusive comment, I automatically check that, because that is who I am at work, and that supports that work persona. Vice versa, if I see someone at work and they're just outright rude or not respectful, that doesn't support my home persona, so I have to stand that up. So that's when we talk about the authenticity. There ebbs and flows between both, and you want to make sure that both are always in support and in concert with one another.
Thank you.
Thanks. And the last question is more a tool. So it's for you, Meral. It's Asma Mohammed. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing your first name correctly, but the question is there a sort of online catalog or directory for women-owned business that one can join or access, or to find other fellow women and tools? So that's something that we can also add to the chat later on. But if you have some ideas, Meral, that could be a good
So
thing.
we developed and we are developing a series of capacity building programs for women businesses, women-owned or women-led businesses. The first one is the Women Entrepreneurship Certificate Program developed by ITC, International Trade Center. And this is online. I will put in a chat in a moment. It comes with 27 modules and covering 7 stages of entrepreneurship. The link is directly on the ITC, and for today it is in English, but very soon, until September, we will have it in Spanish and French, and later we will have it in Russian, Hindi, one more, Russian, Hindi, Mandarin, and Arabic. We will send them in many languages. So this is the online, free, that is available for all. And in September, we will have also available 2 lines of work. One is digital skills training for young entrepreneurs, 18 to 26 years old, and covering also cybersecurity, etc., which is very important. Actually, cybersecurity is important, not only young one, but also for us, and especially in maybe more than my age, because we are not very used. Probably the older generation is not as internet aware as the young one. And the other one is the sector-oriented digital skills program developed by International Telecommunication Union, ITU. And this comes in sectors technology, let me think, technology, textile, care, and green economy. Meaning, if a woman in tech sector wants to open a business, what are the digital skills needed for this sector? Or if a woman wants to open a business or grow her business in care economy, what are the skills needed? So those are the ones that we are preparing so far. And lastly, the one that I mentioned also, it is not online yet. It is a face-to-face program, is to prepare women entrepreneurs for the bidding opportunities. Okay. But it doesn't, yeah. So let me put it when we are done, the links on that. And
we'll put them under the in the channel, so the YouTube channel, so you have the time to put it. There are a lot of great tools you just mentioned, definitely. Thanks for that, Meral. Ayse, I'm giving you the microphone back, so go ahead with your part.
Yeah, thank you. That was great talk and very inspiring and new insights for us, Meral and Roshan. So I will very shortly ask, because we want to, develop these talks, because we have 3 more series and we really want to serve for women leaders, entrepreneurs to rise. So if you can give some feedback to us, it's very easy. Just go to www.menti.com and use the code 36010748. So what do you take away today and what do you want to see more? Just 1 or 2 sentences, actually, one for each. What do you take away today? And or what do you want to see more? That will be really helpful. So I'm just giving 1 minute so everybody maybe can share.
It will be also open after this presentation will be done as well, so you can have a first insights on the answers, but we'll continue to monitor it and share it. Ayse, do you want to share it right now, or we wait still, or we share it afterwards?
I can open just because there is no name, we cannot detect who said what. So so it is anonymous, so it's secure if I can call, because some people may feel shy. Actually, not yet.
So anyway, we'll share the link, and it will be for those who would be listening, and we'll share the results from time to time in the coming days. I think we're getting towards the end, so that's and we'll put this link on the YouTube channel. I say definitely for the people that will be easier if they can click. Right now, it's probably a bit more challenging. We've talked about challenge all this last hour. Definitely, we've talked about important things, and we've talked about that we need women that be confident and resilient leaders, but to do that, we need to have a context that will allow that to happen. And we've you've received hints and tips from Roshan, tools and ideas from Meral and program. So I think there are so many things that are possible, but starting from the proper and the healthier mindset. And it also needs to trickle down in the men-owned organization. So and personally, as a man, I'll try to push that forward with my others counterpart. Definitely, I think it's a key item. It's just to make sure that the space is there for all that to happen for the women, but for humankind. As you said, Roshan, earlier, we're all humans, and we're penalizing everybody, human included, women and men included, by not having all the this approach, this inclusiveness approach, the diversity of opinion, background, gender, being all working and rowing in the same direction. We're on the same boat. We just have one boat, planet Earth, and we need to work all in the same direction as much as possible. Even as you said earlier, Roshan, the pandemic reveals that we had different reactions to the big struggle the world faced. So some were going in one direction, others in the other direction, not the good one sometimes. But for those who would like to go in the proper direction, we need to have that possible. So that's great to see that UN Women is working hard on that, helping entrepreneurs, and it's good that you're working on helping people cultivate their mindset, Roshan. All great approaches today. Thanks very much to both of you for the exchange, for the insightful things and resources that you gave us today. Ayse, you want to close?
Yeah, thank you.
Last word for you.
Last, thank you. Yeah, that was great to have both of you here. So thank you very much. And maybe we would like to emphasize about our WELL forum, because we have heard many times that there aren't female role models, or there is a scarcity in female role models for women entrepreneurs and women, so especially when it comes to sustainability. So we launched our LinkedIn group, so you can hear here, Women Entrepreneurs and Leaders Forum. Well, it's just about knowledge exchange and supporting each other. So we don't actually allow any marketing, so you can feel safe and confident.
Exact. That's the goal. Confident and resilient, and it's for our future, the future of us all. So anyway, great thing. Yes, we have a forum and people can definitely join. We'll be pleased to see you there as well. Thanks very much, everybody. And we'll be coming back soon with follow-up on these discussions. The next TEDxPlattsburgh Salon is at the end of July. Stay tuned. We'll let you know all the details for registration. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.